Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine with another, what's this one? This is a playlist video, live from the UK as Storm Bert does its stuff just outside the window. So I shall do my best to stay online while Storm Bert does its stuff. So in this video, I'm basically going to be just showing you what I've been playing over the last few days. It's my playlist video, which I know is quite popular with many of you out there. Now, some of the things I'm going to show you are going to be quite brief because I've done more in-depth videos about them, especially things which I've recently reviewed. So that means that at some point you'll have seen those, but at the time of doing this video, there will be one or two things that I haven't released those videos, review videos for, if that makes sense. Right. So one of the things I've been revisiting, so not reviewing, is The Who, the box set. This giant box set for Who's Next, which came out about this time last year, as I do this towards the end of November in 2024. Now, that was possibly the most expensive box set I'd ever bought that were related to one single album event. And usually I'm quite good at, am I? No, not always. I was going to say quite good at finding a bargain. This was a box set that came out and was announced at something like £230 at the time, which was completely over the top for a 10-disc set. And it weighs a ton. I mean, it could be very much part of your daily health routine, just lifting it above your head. And the price dropped to about £195. And it started to sell out, and I thought, well, I need to move on this. It's expensive, and having lived with it and owned it, I really think it's worth it. But some of you out there will remember quite an adventure with this, that I seem to be the only person in the whole world who bought a copy where half the pages were mixed up in the book. So I had to send it back, and then Universal sent me a separate book, and then I bought another copy, I think for £180, and then the price dropped to about £120, and for some people in the Now Spinning Magazine Facebook group, managed to find a copy for about £70 in Finland. It's a true story. And I think the price now has balanced out at about £125, which I suppose compared to what I paid for was quite a bargain. Anyway, that aside, the discs that I've been revisiting, because there is some wonderful stuff on here. The album itself, of course, it's always a classic album. I remember when I was at school, the album came out in 1971, so I am 13. I'm listening to Slade, T-Rex, The Sweet. Hadn't really graduated yet to what the big kids were listening to, like Sabbath, Zeppelin and Purple, etc. But The Who were in the background, and all the school discos, Won't Get Fooled Again, was always played. And Won't Get Fooled Again, it's a bit like Sabbath's War Pigs, isn't it? It's timeless. The lyrics, Won't Get Fooled Again, they are so in tune with what's going on in the world, really. So I've been really enjoying listening to this again, especially the Sound Studio London sessions, and which basically has all the singles in, because the other thing that this has is a track that was yes or no whether it was actually part of the Lifehouse project, which was Relay. And the Relay is my favourite song by The Who of all time. There's just something about it, the vocal delivery by Daltrey, the guitar. There's a great version from the Argo Whistle Test, where I think the vocals are live and they were miming the rest of it. The version here is like over 5 minutes long, and I just love it. So I've been really enjoying playing that. As I've taken that off the stand, you can see that I've also been playing the Scorpions, and I have. And that is in Trance from 1975, isn't it? It was 76. I can't remember. It might be 75, mightn't it? It is 75. 1975, that's the same year as Physical Graffiti and Come Taste the Band, isn't it? And Sabotage. And in Trance. And at this time in 1975, I had never heard of the Scorpions. Didn't know who they were. I didn't know about the Scorpions until 1978 when they did Taken by Force. And even then, I didn't go backwards in time. I basically stayed there and went to Tokyo Tapes and went forward with them. So I didn't go back to what they'd done before for a long time afterwards. And this album, the one that's in the background, is a more recent reissue on transparent silvery vinyl from BMG. But it was really difficult to get hold of copies of this. I've got a Japanese CD as well. It was very difficult to get hold of this. It seems to be the one that was always out of print. But it's amazing that this band have been going for so long, and you don't forget that they're still going now. And we think about a lot of the bands who are retiring and stepping down. The Scorpions were going literally at the same time. I mean, this isn't their first one. I mean, we can go back a few more years. But In Trance is a great track. And of course, the reason why I've gone back to listen to this is I'm also going through a phase of listening to quite a bit of Ely John Roth, who's another great artist I've had the good fortune to be able to interview. Absolutely fantastic. Now, another person that I'm hoping to interview is an album where I've done a separate review for this, but I will mention it. It might be going out roughly around the same time as this one, and that is Warren Haynes with Million Voices Whisper. I love Warren Haynes' guitar playing, and obviously Government Mule, his work with the Allman Brothers, but obviously I love his solo stuff as well. And he's not just a guitar player, he's a fantastic vocalist as well. He sings with such passion, and the way I think it's because, and I'll mention this in the main review, I think when somebody sings like he does and they play guitar, when they come to take the solo, the guitar solo is like an extension of their voice, but without using any words. And there's some beautiful stuff on this. And this is an album that features Derek Trucks, who just sprinkles his magic over the album. And there's some great moments when Warren and Derek just trade licks from one speaker to the other. And it's like just sitting in the room with them, just close your eyes and you can actually imagine you're there. So that's a great album. The other one I've been playing a lot, and this review's gone down really, really well, is the Beardfish album, Songs from Beating Hearts. And thank you, everybody, for suggesting where I should go next on my Beardfish journey. For anyone who loves Hammond organ, Gentle Giant, Focus, Genesis, yes, give that a listen. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Other stuff that I'll touch on that I've been playing that you've seen me talk about already is the Queen box set, and on this I have landed, I thought it's useful to say this, I've landed on the Queen 1 Sessions, which was CD number 3, and the reason why is because of all the chat that you can hear the band talking as they're working their way through the songs. And I just found this fascinating because one of the things that really comes across as I've read the book and I've seen the handwritten notes, the fact that Freddie Mercury, hand designed the logo for Queen, and the fact that they were so much wanting to control everything. They designed the album cover, the front cover, how that was designed, with Brian May basically cutting out the little picture of Freddie Mercury from the photograph and colouring it in, and all the back was just pictures and stuff, is the fact that they were so into what they did, and reading Roger Taylor's diary entries, etc. They just loved being in that band. And they obviously still do. And the fact that the fan club's still going. So, yeah, obviously I love the remix, as you know. But yeah, the sessions, I just think it's like eavesdropping onto the past, but really hearing how these great tracks came together. And obviously the demos as well. So that's that. And then I've also been heading off into the past. And it's interesting how you can sometimes see the past as not being quite the past. What the hell do I mean by that? Well, this is a box set I've been dipping into. I've not done anything on this. Maybe I should. If you want me to, just say in the comments. It's Classic Album Collection by the Electric Light Orchestra. It's a fab box. I don't think it's in print anymore. And the album I've been playing from this is called Time, which to me is quite a recent ELO album, even though it's from 1982. So it's a mere 40 odd years old, isn't it? But to me, it's still fairly recent. It's only the 70s. It seems a long time ago. Does it? Or was that the 60s? But Time is, it's a really underrated ELO album. It's got wonderful tracks on it. As I say, I've played it a couple of times this week, and it's really made me realise that as much as I always go back to my favourites, which are the Eldorados, Face the Music, etc., this has been my favourite for a while recently. Is that a phrase? But anyway, listen to Time by ELO. And I'm saying that to you as if like it's a new album by ELO. It's only about 40 years old. And that's from the Classic Albums collection, which has got some wonderful stuff on it. What else? I've also been listening to some soul. I don't know if you can see the effect on this. This is, probably can't with the camera, doesn't understand it, does it? But that's like a 3D effect, one of those. This is an American pressing CD, the 50th anniversary celebration of Stax. And I'm not going to read everything out, but it's obviously you've got Booker T and the MGs is on here, Sam and Dave, Eddie Floyd, Otis Redding, all sorts of people. Absolutely uplifting, wondrous stuff that sounds like, I say it sounds like my childhood, and that means it makes it sound like my mum and dad were playing tons of soul music. They weren't, but it always seemed to be on in the radio in the background. So, you know, whether I was playing Radio 1 or my parents were playing, what were they playing? BMRB, the Birmingham local radio station, probably. Would they listen to Radio 2 then? Possibly. Yeah, maybe it was then, but school discos, it was just always on. And so a lot of this stuff is stuff I didn't buy, but it was played, I suppose in many ways, the Stax record label was the disco of its time, wasn't it? For when I was at school, obviously disco became a thing later in the 70s. But this, you know, soul music, Tamla Motown, but this label, I've got several compilations by Stax, but I think this is my favourite two CD set. So there's that. I've also, not far removed from that period, is Status Quo and Dog of Two Heads, which came out in, when did this one come out? I can't remember this either. This is when I was just getting into Status Quo, really. I was just becoming aware of them. And the track's 1970, is this 1971? I suppose it is, yeah. Yeah, it is, 1971. So as I got into Status Quo with Pile Driver and Paper Plane, obviously the previous record label was feeling a bit probably miffed that, you know, this band they'd pushed a lot of money into and really tried, hadn't broke through, but they were breaking through, started to push what they still had on their books. So it was Pie Records, wasn't it? And the tracks were Mean Girl, which I remember hearing a lot at the time. And of course the other one was Gerdundula, which I'm probably not pronouncing correctly. But Mean Girl was a track that sounded like the Quo that I was really starting to like. But listening to this album now, it is the birth of the classic Status Quo. So we always think of Status Quo as being like Pile Driver, Hello, Quo on the level. But this one, I think, really creeps in as being part of that set, really. I've also been listening to the Rolling Stones, and an album that I remember I was in a band called Tantrum in the mid-80s, and obviously I was just listening to Dokken, Rat, Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, really all of the American hard rock bands, and the keyboard player had bought this Steel Wheels by the Stones, and I didn't even listen to it. Don't listen to the Stones in the 80s, and especially the mid to late 80s. No, it's too much rock going on. It's one of my favourite albums by the Stones now, and I know I've done a ranking video and I can't remember where this came, but I played it yesterday for the first time in ages, and it's really is a great rock album, isn't it? Sad, mixed emotions, terrifying, hold on to your hat, but of course, Rock in a Hard Place. That is one hell of a track, isn't it? It's typical Stones, great Keith Richards riffs and chord sequences, but yeah, Steel Wheels by the Stones has been on my playlist this week. What else have I had? A guy I hopefully going to be talking to soon is Captain of the Lost Waves, who I've spoken to before, and this is his new album, which is called Beautiful Ugly. I think it's his finest album so far. Every time I've put this on at home, and whoever's been around has said, "What's this fully playing? It's really nice. It's really good. It's a great album." So I'm going to be talking to the Captain very soon. And another guy I'm going to be talking to soon is Terry Wilson Slessor from Backstreet Crawler. So I'm really looking forward to talking to Terry. And this is a fantastic album. If you're a fan of Paul Kossoff and Free, the spirit of Paul is all over this. It's really good. I'm also hoping to talk to Warren Haynes. I forgot to say that, didn't I? That I have an opportunity, hopefully, to interview Warren Haynes. So I hope that comes about. I've got a big Uriah Heep feature coming along. So I've been burying myself in Uriah Heep live. So I won't talk too much about that because it's a separate video. And I think, is that everything apart from... No, it's not. There's two or three things left that I've been really enjoying as well. Southside Johnny and the Asbury Dukes. This is the Mercury years, and the album that I really like playing is called Sacrifice from the early 80s. This is when Southside Johnny was probably channeling The River by Bruce. I was playing The River the other week, actually, from the big box set. I must do something on that. And it made me realise there was so much about sides 1 and 2 of The River that didn't connect with me at the time. I was just too rock centric. Whereas now, sides 3 and 4, especially sides 3, I just love that album. But this Sacrifice, I've been really enjoying this. Some great guitar playing, and it's a bit like Elvis Costello in places, which Sue pointed out. But I wasn't a fan of Elvis Costello, so I didn't pick that up. But I've always had an affinity more towards Southside Johnny than Mr. Springsteen. I don't know why. It's because he's the underdog. He was there, and New Jersey, and and everyone around him just hit the big time, and he was there first, and everyone went in and out of his ranks. Steve Van Zandt, and obviously Springsteen, Bon Jovi, all these people, Aldenova, all these New Jersey people. But I've got everything by the Southside Johnny, and I don't think there's any albums I don't like. Maybe the Tom Waits one is not the one I play a great deal, but all this other stuff, there's always something in there that feels so authentic and so heartfelt, I guess. So yeah, it's a good one. I'm going back in time again now. This is from the John Mayall Ginormous Madfish box set with Mick Taylor on. And this album is called From Laurel Canyon, 1968. And I just, one of the things I just wanted to mention on this, because it's something Andy Olds, one of my patrons, had mentioned an artist whose name has escaped me. Sorry. So Andy, put it in the comments about a young guitarist, age about 19, and how great he was, and what a great blues player this kid is. And I remember thinking, 19, I've got so much music in my house. I've got so much to listen to. Listen to some 19-year-old kid. Phil, wake up. When you listen to music like this, Mick Taylor's on this album from 1968, and I think it might say in the booklet, is it? Hope so. Now I've said that. I might do. Bear with me. No, it's not in there. But I'm sure I read this somewhere. Maybe it's in the cover. Yes. So Mick Taylor's on this album, as I've said. And he's put down, his birthday was 1949, and this came out in 1968, so he's 19. And already picked by John Mayall as being like an up-and-coming guitarist. How old was Paul Kossoff in those early Free albums? About 18, 19? So I think it's very important, as some of us start to go through life and suddenly realise we're not quite teenagers ourselves, that actually so many of the things that I listened to when I was growing up, being a teenager myself, was made by teenagers themselves. And, talent can arrive at any time. So there's that, and I must be nearly there now, aren't I? Oh, yes. And I'm going to end on... Am I? Yes. I'm going to end on one of the funkiest albums of all time. This is a bit of jazz, but it's probably more funk than jazz, although it is a jazz fusion dude. And the album is from Billy Cobham. It's from this box set, which is called The Atlantic Years. And I'm also going to admit to something here, as when I find it, because I also have it on record with a giant orangutan on the front. And this is on the Atlantic Records, had its own jazz imprint. I'm telling you this, and many of you, I'm telling you things you already know. But anyway, the Atlantic colour label was not green. It was kind of a silvery grey, which I think emphasised the jazz. But what I was about to say is that up until this week, I've had this album for a long time. It came out in 1975. I've always read this title as being a funky side of things. And I think I've mentioned that to many people, saying, oh, Billy Cobham, apart from Spectrum and the other one, Crosswinds, that funky side of things is one of my favourite albums by him. It's got some of the most wild funky bass playing, let alone drumming, ever. It's not called that, is it? It's called a funky side of sings. And I only noticed that this week. And I only noticed it because I decided to go onto the Prog Archives website just out of curiosity to see whether it was listed, because it's not really prog, and also to see if there'd been any contemporary reviews looking back on it. And that's when I realised, when I was trying to look it up, that it isn't called that. It has a very long drum solo on it, which is actually the title track, which for some people it might be too much. It doesn't bother me, and drum solos generally do bother me. So this is probably the third one that I can cope with. But side one is a tour de force of funky jazz, rock, fusion type stuff, and especially some skunk funk. I mean, that's got to be one of the funkiest titles, with one of the funkiest bass players on it. In fact, who is that guy? It's Alex Blake on bass. And there is one more. And this is going to be a separate review. And please watch this if you haven't already. This is Debin Townsend's new album called Power Nerd. I think I called it Powder Nerd when I spoke to him, because I was still listening to Tim Bonus's album. That's a great interview as well. And this is out now. And so please watch the Debin Townsend interview. I know I focus a lot on the book, but this album is easily one of his best. I just love the guy's voice. It's so full of angst, energy, and the human spirit. I just love everything about it. Anyway, so that has been what I've been playing this week. So let me know in the comments what you've been playing, what you've discovered, what you've recently bought, what you've had for ages, but you've decided to bring it out again and give it another spin, whether it's on CD or vinyl, as you can see there. Multi-format man here. So it doesn't matter what it is. So let me know. And remember, music is the healer and the doctor. Please take care. Keep spinning those discs. Oh, it's coming up to Christmas. Buy a t-shirt, buy a mug. And again, for patrons, you get access to the twice monthly virtual meetups, and you also get access to a private WhatsApp group and Facebook group as well to talk to like-minded music fans and collectors. So take care, keep spinning those discs, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon.